Yeah, I'm losing my edge.
Without further ado, I give to you the most exciting trade in futures, the roll trade. We're telling you why you roll futures, when you roll futures, and how you do it. It is by far, forget all of this, everybody waiting for a stock market crash to trade, or, everybody's talking about Bitcoin moving by 10% every single day. To me, Pete, there's nothing more exciting than rolling futures. Am I right or wrong?
It is. I mean, it's like living on the edge of the knife. It's that thrilling.
It's actually really brutal.
We have to do, I hate house cleaning, and not to say I don't do it, but
I actually kind of like it.
This is how, well, I know you like the outfits.
Unbelievable.
But this really is just housekeeping at its basic form. So, and you know what? There's easier ways to do it now, which we're going to talk about, which is great. I've seen, and Frank, I know you have, before the easier ways to do this of a single transaction. I've seen guys destroy themselves over a day, rolling a future and legging it, and that leg coming apart. So let's talk about how this absolutely strategy neutral, mechanical housekeeping we have to do.
That's an interesting thing that you just kind of brought up there without even maybe noticing, is like the more exciting you try to make rolling futures, the worse off you truly are. Like it truly is. And I feel like maybe this is just me and my crazy warped mind. But there's like this relationship between traders and that end of finance, and then like accountants and actuaries and that type of finance. And I feel like there's constantly like, we're putting their heads in toilets and stuff like that. And like our
This took a dangerous turn.
CFO Matt, when he talks about like taxes and in December where we have to like enroll for crap, we kind of like make fun of it, and it's really boring. This is like as close as like the cool trader types get to those boring, lame accountants and actuaries. So let's just try to tightly get through this as quickly as possible. And you'll see most people's platforms where they go to trade, they've created this process to make it very easy as well. There's usually a roll functionality. But before we even get to that, Pete, why are we rolling? Well, to enjoy the exclusive capital efficiency that futures pose, they must expire at some date in the future and fulfill their name's calling. I almost kind of like, it's like a phoenix, right? It rises from the ashes only to die once again. And thus it is called the phoenix. Futures, they are so named that they must be created. They're born on a certain date, and from that date, they've got this name tag attached to them, F21 here, and they must fulfill that F21. There's no living past January of 2021 in this case. Pete, they must die, right? And Friday is that day that they die.
Wow, yeah, they must die. Now that's a draconian way of describing it, but yes, futures by their. You know what I like though is it's funny, when I started teaching as well as trading, this was a very long discussion, and it was painful for everyone. I'm sure everyone to consume and me to give. So you summed it up in a sentence, which is exactly what it is. Futures, as their name implies, expire at some point. How do we keep our strategies, our mechanics, and our management in place? And this is absolutely an indifference trade, which is good. So let's talk about that. We want to maintain. We want, like all the benefits of futures, we want the simplicity of the binary movement. Let's keep all the good parts, and let's just do the maintenance we need to do. Keep the party going.
You really roll the futures to keep the party going, and that party is just capital efficiency, right? Like, since it is a futures contract on stocks or a futures contract on oil or metals or whatever, and you're not having to lay out the cash to buy that asset itself, you have to go from future to future. Otherwise, you go from future to hard asset, and the party's over. And now, instead of paying 5% of that asset size and getting that capital efficiency, I have to pay 50 or 100%. That's why we roll the futures. When do we do it? Well, here are all your different names here. January is F. February starts with an F, of course, is G, and then so on and so forth here. And I actually didn't even update this. This is for 2020. Should update this for
Yeah,
2021.
we
But
all
guess
know
what?
it's 2021. It's all good, my friend.
But
So,
guess what? It's super boring, right? Because it's just
yeah,
a matter of changing
it
these
is.
numbers by one increment. And when do we usually change these numbers? Like, so right now, a lot of people have positions in F21, Pete. When do you usually advise them to change to G21?
Well, you know what? As active traders, one of the important things we want is liquidity. And we move wherever the market is the most liquid. And that in smalls products takes place the Tuesday and Wednesday before expiration. So we roll our positions Tuesday or Wednesday. Can you do it tomorrow or Friday before 3 o'clock when they expire? Absolutely. But I like to be where, for whatever futures we're looking at, I like to be in what they call the active month. How do I know? We give you guidance that it's pretty straightforward and uniform at smalls. It's the Tuesday or Wednesday before expiration. But you can always look at the volume between the two products and you will see it shift. And once that volume shifts, that's where you want to be. And again, Frank and I apologize for the month designations of, I don't know why, there's a J for April because there's not a J in April. This is the only legacy pain in the butt that we carry over from the existing world is this alphabetical symbology around months. So, this is one where I take the screenshot, print this one out, and just put it aside so you know what the next alphabetical designation is, or wait for Frank to serve it up to you, which he does so wonderfully.
Well, you're gonna be surprised by this, but I've given too much thought to why this is the way that it is, and what I've decided is they started with F because A, B, C, D, and E are too popular. Okay, so we'll just start with F. We'll give those 5 letters. They can be used for other things. Now, the question becomes, okay, if they start with F, and January's F, February's G, March is H, those are all sequential, right? Well, then where's I? Why is an I in the mix? Well, because I looks like a number, and so if you have I21, is it 121? It's confusing. Why isn't there an L? Same problem. Right. And so as you can imagine here, why is there the MNO? It's not MNQ. That's not how I was taught this. Well, O looks like a 0. So there you go. I solved it.
You did. And that's exactly right. And you would think, well, the H and the I, all I had to do is type another letter. If you think back when these codes were created, it was me and 1,000 other knuckleheads in a bunch of different pits writing with serial killer handwriting that no one could tell whether it was an I or a 1 or anything else. So we try to make it, for us being relatively dim-witted cavemen, try to make it as simple as possible.
Isn't it funny, though, how, like, you idiot cavemen from, like, 4 decades ago, you make this system and now, like, millions of people have to live by this system? It's absolutely crazy.
We fixed a lot of these ambiguities, but this was one of them.
How do you roll futures? Now, this is going to be specific to most platforms, but at the end of the day, Pete, it's a matter of closing your position in F21 and just opening the same position in G21. Most platforms have a roll functionality or have a pairs trader that allows you to, like, so say, for instance, you're long SM75. Okay, so you're +1 SM75 F21. Okay, and you want to extend that duration for the next month here, keep seeing that capital efficiency on your long position. All you have to do is either sell this and buy this in 2 separate orders, or if you have a pairs trader or a roll function, all you have to do is create that pairs trade where it's like, I'm selling F21 and I'm buying G21, and thus what are you actually doing? Well, I'm just getting rid of my long position in January, which is going to expire on Friday anyways, and I'm buying for the next month. Now, could you, worst case scenario, Pete, let these F21s, whether you're long or short, expire to Friday and then buy or sell on Monday? Yeah, there's not that big of a deal here for small exchange futures, right? Because like this guy's frowning, but you can see the frown is very slight. There's no settlement to physical assets.
Right.
There's no large fees that you incur unless they're on the brokerage side from letting this stuff. If I'm long, let's roll with this example. I'm long SM75 and I bought it at $60 and it's going to the index on Friday, Pete, settles at $61. All that's going to happen is my account is going to show that $1, which is $100 notionally profit, right? Like it's not that big of a deal.
No, it becomes a realized profit. It comes off your books. It frees up that margin. That's not the goal, but you have three choices. So, and you're right. Let it expire, which is what you're walking. What do? I lose my exposure, but there's no 1,000 barrels of crude, 5,000 bushels of corn. Don't worry about any of that with small exchange cash settled futures. That's one of the great things with cash settled futures. If we forget, and I've forgotten before too, and it's great to know that you're not in a delivery cycle. The position's taken away, you get the debit or credit, and you move on the next day. So you can absolutely do that if you want to let them sit. But I think a lot of our strategies aren't built around the roll. It's around a strategy and mechanics. And we want the roll to go away as a problem. Not a problem, but it's, again, a housekeeping thing that we take care of.